There is a good chance you walked past real money this morning without knowing it. It was sitting on a shelf in your garage, in a wooden box under the workbench, covered in dust and a little rust. Most folks look at an old tool and see junk, but a collector looks at that same old tool and sees a payday, and he is hoping you never learn the difference. My name is Roy, and I spent the better part of 40 years buying and selling at estate sales, farm auctions, and garage cleanouts all across the country. And I watched good people hand over tools worth hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars for pocket change, because a dealer told them it was all worthless rust. So before you sell a single wrench, a single plane, a single old drill, sit tight for the next few minutes, because I'm going to show you 10 old tools that are secretly worth a small fortune, and exactly how to tell if you own one. Let us start with the one almost everybody has. Number 10. The old hand saw hanging on the garage wall, specifically a Diston. Henry Diston and Sons of Philadelphia was the giant of American saw-making from the 1840s all the way through the middle of the 20th century. Now, most Diston saws are common. A worn, post-war model with a plain handle is a fine user, but it is worth $30 to $50 and no more. Here is where it turns. The value hides in the age and the etch. A pre-1900 Diston with the elaborate acid etching still visible on the blade and the original applewood or rosewood handle intact jumps to $60, $100, sometimes $200. And the real prize is a Civil War-era Diston with the original eagle medallion on the handle. Those have sold for $200 to $500 and up. The medallion, that little brass nut on the handle, is how collectors date the saw. So before that old saw goes in the scrap pile, look at the handle. Look for the etch. If it is old and ornate, never sell it cheap. Number 9. The push drill, sitting in the bottom of the toolbox. You've seen one. A spiral shaft that drills a hole when you push down on the handle. No battery, no cord. The Yankee push drill, made by Miller's Falls and by Stanley, is a beautiful piece of old American engineering. A common one in working order runs $20 to $40, but the early examples, the ones with the storage compartment and the handle still holding all the original drill points, and especially the ones with the bright red handle that collectors nicknamed Buck Rogers, those climb well past that. Miller's Falls built these to last a century, and they did. Check that the spiral still springs back and the chuck still grips. If it works, and it is early, you are holding real money. Number 8. The wooden folding rule and the old level. These get thrown out first, and that is a shame. A plain boxwood folding rule is a few dollars, but a Stanley or a Chapin brass-bound folding rule in clean condition is worth real money to collectors. And the levels are where it gets interesting. Those heavy old levels with brass fittings, etched glass vials, and unusual mechanisms, especially the ornate Victorian ones from makers like Davis and Cook, regularly sell for $100 to $500. The rare and decorative examples have crossed $800. It is precision engineering wrapped in beautiful materials, and that combination is exactly what a collector cannot resist. So that dusty old level on the shelf may be worth more than the whole tool cabinet it is leaning against. Number 7. The brace and bit. That big, sweeping hand drill your grandfather used before electricity reached the workshop. Most are common users worth $20 or $30, but the higher-grade braces, the ones with the lignum vitae head, the fine ratchet mechanism, and the maker stamp from Miller's Falls or from the early premium lines, carry a collector premium. And if it comes as a complete set, the brace with a full row of original bits in the wooden box, the whole thing sells for far more together than the pieces ever would apart. Sets in original condition always command the premium. Do not break up the set. Keep it whole. Number 6. The old wrench you cannot even identify. Here is a rule that surprises people. The stranger and older a wrench looks, the more likely it is worth money. Early patented wrenches from the 1800s, the odd adjustable ones with a mechanism you have never seen, the ones stamped with a patent date and a maker long gone. These are hunted by a small and serious group of collectors. A common crescent wrench is a few dollars, but an early patent-dated wrench in good shape can bring $50, $100, and the genuinely rare examples go much higher. Look for the patent date stamped right into the steel. If it has one and you do not recognize the design, do not toss it. We are halfway in, and the values are only climbing from here. The next 5 are where the real fortunes hide. And number 1 is a tool that regularly sells for the price of a used car. Number 5. The craftsman tools, but only the right ones. Now, I have to be straight with you, because plenty of people online will lie to you about this. Your everyday craftsman ratchet from the 1990s is just a good tool. It is not a treasure. But the early American-made craftsman, from the era when Sears was building them to a standard nobody matched, those do carry a collector following. Look for the ones marked with the double V, the mark from the 1940s through the 1960s, and the earliest pre-war production. Clean examples of the right vintage, sold as a matched set, bring real money, far more than the modern stuff sitting next to them at the hardware store. The lesson is the mark and the age, not just the name on the handle. Number 4. The wooden-bodied molding plane. Long before the metal planes, woodworkers used planes made of solid beech, each one shaped to cut a specific profile. Most single molding planes are common and sell for $10 or $20. But here is the turn. A complete matched set of hollows and rounds, or a rare complex molding plane from an early American maker with a clear maker stamp on the toe, that is a different animal entirely. Collectors chase the early signed examples and the complete sets, and the prices climb into the hundreds. The maker stamp on the end of the plane is the key. If you can read a name and a date, you may be holding a piece of the 1800s worth far more than firewood. Number 3. The Stanley combination plane. This is the one that looks like a mechanical puzzle, all knobs and fences, and a box full of little cutters. The Stanley 45 combination plane, complete with the full set of cutters, sells for $150 to $400, depending on age and completeness. And its big brother, the Stanley 55, the tool Stanley once called a planing mill within itself, in the original box with all the cutters, brings $500 and well beyond. The value lives in completeness. Every cutter present, the original box, the depth stops, all of it. If you find one of these with the little wooden box of blades intact, you are holding a serious payday. Do not let anyone tell you it is scrap iron. Number 2. The premium Stanley bench plane from the golden years. Not every Stanley plane is valuable, and this is where knowing the difference pays. A common post-war Stanley No. 4 is a $20 user, but a Stanley from the Sweetheart era, the 1920s into the 1930s, marked with the heart-shaped logo on the blade, is prized by woodworkers and collectors alike. And then there are the bedrock planes, Stanley's premium line, with the flat-sided frog and the machined bed. Bedrock planes consistently sell for 2 to 3 times what the equivalent standard plane brings. Some of the harder-to-find bedrock sizes have crossed $400 and $500 in collector condition. Flip the blade. Look for the Sweetheart heart. Look at the plane body for the bedrock name. Those 2 details can turn a $20 plane into a $400 one. And now, the tool that got me started telling people to stop selling their planes for nothing. Number 1. The Stanley No. 1 bench plane. It is the smallest bench plane Stanley ever made. So small, it is almost useless for real woodworking, and that is exactly why it is worth a fortune. Stanley made very few of them. Collectors need it to complete the set, and demand has never let up. A genuine Stanley No. 1, in excellent original condition, sells for $2,000 to $4,000, and the finest examples climb even higher. Let me say that again. One small hand plane, the kind that could be sitting forgotten in a cigar box in your attic, worth more than most people's entire tool collection. And right beside it in value sits the Stanley 55 in the original box, which has reached $2,000 to $5,000 in complete condition. These are the crown jewels, and the tragedy is how many have been sold at yard sales for $5 by folks who had no idea. So here's what I want you to do. Before you clear out that garage, before you take a box of old iron to the scrapyard, before you nod along when a dealer tells you it is all worthless, go back and look. Look at the handle of that saw. Look for the heart on that plane blade. Look for the patent date, the maker stamp, the double V, the little box of cutters. Because most folks look at an old tool and see junk. But now you know what the collector knows, and that dusty old tool on the shelf might just be worth a small fortune. Do not sell it cheap.